How are we all today? It's good to see you and welcome to Academy XI's Open Day. My name's Chris Veness. I head the business and design portfolio here at Academy XI. It's my great pleasure to welcome everyone today to talk about our flagship course in UX UI Design Transform. So welcome. Before we begin, would everyone like to share where they're from using the chat function here in Zoom? Sydney, great, thank you. Sydney as well, thank you. Joining from Melbourne today, beautiful city, welcome. Don't be shy, everyone. We're very social here at Academy XI. We'd love to know about each other. Melbourne as well, thank you, welcome. Simon's from Sydney, excellent, welcome. We'll kick off in a couple of minutes. So please share where you're from, share your interests, share your hobbies. We like to get to know all of our students and joining us today. We'll kick off very, very soon. We're just waiting on a few more people to arrive. Sunshine Coast, lucky you. Welcome, Tina. Jackson's from Melbourne, great, welcome. Maroubra Beach, it's a nice spot there, isn't it? Welcome, Peter. Look, well, let's kick off. I'm really excited to be hosting today's event, our open day at Academy XI. So again, we're here to talk about our flagship course in UX UI Design Transform. But as I'm hosting the webinar, I would like to share that I am standing on the lands of the Gundungurra people in the Southern Highlands, New South Wales. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we are from today and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples participating in this webinar. We welcome you. I pay my respect to all elders past, present and emerging and recognise and celebrate the diversity of the Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and waters across Australia. So thank you all for joining and being here today. We have a lot to go through and a lot to cover in the next hour. So we welcome all questions using the Q&A functionality here in Zoom. But we will have a Q&A session at the later end or the later stages of today's webinar. So if you'd like to ask questions then, that's absolutely great. I won't be answering any questions personally moving through. My dear colleagues will be answering questions behind the scene to their best abilities. So please ask questions. Because if you have them, others maybe in the room will be thinking the same questions. And like others, thinking the same question or similar questions may support their inquiry. And that's how we can collaborate today in the best sense of the words. So let's get cracking. So today I'll begin by explaining all there is to know about the course. What is UX? What is UI? We'll be diving into the course structure at length. You'll meet the academic and non-academic support teams that are guiding students to success. We'll talk to the course features and dive into some of the course materials and share some key topics of the course, followed by the tools and applications used during their studies. So we'll talk about setting your own pace. And that's an interesting one because it factors in study time around all the great things happening in your life. And we have tools and mechanisms to support every student and each pace. We'll talk with a very special guest today. We're joined by an alumni who recently graduated with us to share his story from prior to starting at Academy XI and studying during studies, then what happened after studies and how he jumped into that next chapter in his life. So we're very excited with our special guest speaker today. And finally, we'll be joined by our career advisor who will share all there is to know about starting your studies. Okay, so there's a fair bit to cover today, but hey, nothing to prepare. But if any question comes to mind, please place that question in the Q&A function. Please ask your questions. So let's get started. We've designed a course that has a maximum time frame of 12 months. So you might like to keep in mind that the average completion time for our students is only 4 months. We have had students complete the course in less than 4 months as well, which to us is absolutely mind-blowing when you think about the career path that this course sets for you and that next chapter in your life. We're often asked, though, what is user experience or UX design? And to summarize, it's human-centered. It's a human-centered approach to designing digital products and services like an app or a website, a service, product in a user-friendly and profitable manner. And so, furthermore, UX designers place the center of the user at the center of all decision-making. The development process that goes through cycles of ideation, observation, research, testing, refinement to ensure that the product is intuitive to use and meet the user's needs. And user interface design, it focuses on the look and the feel, the interactivity of the digital product or service. User design, UI design is very much considered the layout, the grid, the typography, the color of each feature on the screen, the way it functions, the way it behaves, whether it be scroll down, a drop down, icons, so much more. What is our course all about? Our course is very much designed to launch a career in UX UI. That's why we're here. We support students in building a competitive portfolio with using real clients in real world projects. And why study at Academy XI? Most design roles require an understanding of both UX and UI, but we've combined both discipline areas into our course. And one, it sets us apart from our competitors in the education market space because our students, they're in a competitive market space. And we understand that both discipline areas should be merged as they work coherently together. So along the way, you'll develop skills, techniques to design user-friendly and visually appealing digital experiences, no matter the industry you're in. And why do companies care about UX and why does this matter? It very much matters because our courses are supported by industry-leading experts with extensive experience. So being a seasoned practitioner in UX UI doesn't qualify people to work with Academy XI, to guide our students, to lead projects efficiently. We handpick mentors to guarantee their experience and passion in the field, and the online classroom is truly evident to support your growth to that highest level of potential. Here we have quite a heavy slide, but this looks at our course structure. Okay, so as a course overview and a description of the 3 phases of our course, I'd like you to note, though, that the first and the second phase is contained within the 12-month duration. Okay, and again, only because I like to repeat myself, phases 1 and 2, we've had students complete these phases in under 4 months, which is, again, mind-blowing. But this is the starting point of establishing a very rewarding career in the area of UX UI. So let's begin by talking about phase 1. So this is where you'll receive all the initial learnings from the foundational to the advanced level in UX and UI, all while working your own individual project that you choose to bring to the course. And this is something that this is a project that you'll grow with and make a standout portfolio item. But if you don't happen to have a project, we have an arsenal of projects for you to select that are based on interests and passion projects. So during this phase, there are live group sessions, all designed in a highly interactive group workshop where students get on the tools and make contribution in the team activities. One-on-one mentoring sessions are absolutely unlimited. Current students utilize these sessions with the instructor to discuss topics, and one-on-ones are related to any topic within the course that they want to discuss at a higher level. General activities throughout the course, which are designed to support your learning in a specific area of design. Or if you want to talk about your future and setting goals, setting up your pathway into a rewarding career is just another reason for arranging a one-on-one. So then students who move into phase 2, which is really where the fun begins. And to be eligible to enter phase 1, students have to successfully complete phase 1. So our stance is that our students absolutely move through phase 1. They pass, they do not fail. We just don't accept failure here. We get students through using every opportunity to gain the level of support they need along the way. whether it be the need to progress in their studies to meet a junior level of quality that industry needs. And that'll assist you in being job ready. At successful completion of phase 2, students graduate. Now, that all can happen within 4 months. That's achievable, and we've seen it so many times. Phase 3, though, is entirely optional. However, we heavily advise all students to opt in and proceed in phase 3 because this is a career coaching, career support program that gets further results. Now, this program is designed to support students in developing their cover letter, their resume, write, generate, create their LinkedIn profile, create a presence in the industry, and in the meantime, apply for job roles, all while working with a career coach who is an absolute expert to support graduates navigate through career opportunities. And we have a job guarantee for all students to fulfill the course criteria. Fulfilling the course criteria is easy when you complete all the aspects of the course. All level of quality is reached to a high level, and that is determined by our industry representatives, instructors, and project supervisors, all here to guide you to get your maximum potential out of your training and to help you reach success. So here, now in terms of the screen which you're looking at, there might be terminology that you might not be familiar with, but we'll expand on this during today's webinar on Open Day. The online content, live sessions, and unlimited one-on-one mentoring sessions focus on all 12 modules that you see on screen right now. And that's from introduction to advanced level. You'll cover UX research, synthesis and analysis, design principles, ideation, which is a really exciting stage of the course, UX architecture, structuring UI design, styling UI design, considering UI and what works. I'll also add that we've just added an additional resource to take our Figma, and that's software we use in the industry and we use within the course we train you in, to a higher level using a Figma for UI prototyping module. We'll work on prototypes, we'll work on usability, we'll work on project management, all while generating a portfolio and presenting. And then we have a newly designed AI integrated module, which is, again, an additional resource designed for you to support your growth and to remain current in the industry. Now, that's not focusing on understanding machine learning, but it's really focused on understanding the importance of AI in UX and all the applications and tools to serve you, which are available today in AI. As I mentioned before, to be eligible to jump into phase 2, we then have to complete all elements in phase 1, including your own individual project. And then you'll start your 4-week sprint in a separate month with a project supervisor, a real client, or within a team of students. Now, all students in week 1 focus on team building exercise, collaborative techniques, planning, unpacking the design brief, reading it, understanding it, and returning with questions to the client, who you'll meet in week 2 at a meet and greet with the client. So you'll be meeting with the client, you'll be asking these questions and gaining more insights from the client about their project. By the 3rd week, you'll return with some UX research, some findings and insights, and you'll be presenting to the clients. Week 4, the final week of the sprint. It's like a dash. It's very fast. It's very intense. However, we get results and you are under project supervision, so you are not alone. Okay, so you'll be presenting to the client in week 4, and very much you'll be mind blown at what you and the team have achieved in this short space of time. So you've got 2 clients, sprint 1, sprint 2, 2 clients, same profile, same structure and cadence. Okay, then you graduate, and that's time to celebrate. It's time to also consider if you'd like to opt into the phase 3 career support program. And that program lasts for 180 days or until you gain your first role in industry, which is all very exciting. And again, this is led by our expert career coach. So I'm going to take a pause for a minute now, and I'm going to introduce you to one of my colleagues, because I certainly don't do this alone. Okay, so my awesome team is here and you'll meet them. So I introduce Antonia. Antonia is a student support engagement officer. And Antonia, you joined us. I invite you to share a bit about what you do.
Sure, thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. So as Chris said, my name's Antonia. So I work in the student support and engagement space. So basically, we'll be there to assist you with any non-academic questions, technical issues within the platform. and just making sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. So we handle things like deferrals, placing your study on hold, extensions, and helping you to get in touch with your course mentor. We also graduate you at the end, we issue your credentials. And like I said, we just want to make sure that you feel as supported as possible. So you can reach out to us through the Slack channel, by calling in, or through email. So we'll be there to support you. Thanks, Chris.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Antonia. Much appreciated. All right. Next, I'm pleased to introduce Alan McCarthy, who's Academy XI's lead instructor in user experience design. Alan will jump in and he'll introduce himself and he'll share a bit about what he does. He'll share his experience in industry, and both as a mentor at Academy XI, and how he can support students in one-on-ones. So Alan, it's over to you. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you, Chris. Hello, everybody. Alan here. I've been working in the industry for, I think it's coming up to like almost 13 years now. And much like many of you, I transitioned from another industry. I had a trade background, so I can understand what it's like coming into this industry from another. And throughout my time, I've had the privilege to work. I got in pretty early from the first wave, boom wave of UX designers, and I've had the ability and fortune to work at some great places, some varied industries, a lot of organizations, everything from big corporates to small startups to agencies. I've worked at all the acronyms in Sydney and some in Melbourne and Brisbane. And yeah, that's brought to me a breadth of varied experience working in different environments, contexts, and teams. And I find that it all comes out quite helpfully and anecdotally through the sessions that we have, either one-on-one or the live sessions that we have as a group. So here, my role and responsibility is to kind of help lead you guys, kind of similar to the paradigm in industry. So when you guys move into industry and you get your first role, you'll be reporting to either a senior, a lead, or a manager. And I kind of try to foster that environment so that it's as real world as possible. So what you'll do is you'll be in charge of your own projects, but you'll come to me and we'll talk strategy, we'll talk technique, and we'll talk things to consider, how to go about doing things. And the cool thing about this particular process is that whenever you guys bring in your own problems, there's a variety and many ways of addressing that. So we get to be quite flexible and fun in the approach in which we take to solve those problems. So I'm here for anything you guys need in terms of progression. Sometimes I also act as a therapist for those under the crunch. But yeah, looking forward to meeting you all, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Alan. It's great to see you here and have you here today. Thank you. All right, team. We were looking at the course structure today. There was a few terms that we'll use and maybe we're unfamiliar with. So here we're going to explore some of the key topics that students learn along the way, certainly in phase one, and apply in their own individual project, and certainly apply while working with client projects in phase two. So we begin by speaking to the double diamond, which is a design framework and structure. And it's very much a UX process that we embed through the learnings in our course. So we'll expand on this very soon. We also include synthesis and analysis. Now, this adopts UX research to move toward the define stage of the double diamond. And this stage lends to defining a problem, defining a gap or a pain point in a service, and looking at ways to optimize or drawing on insights to optimize that pain point. Ideation is located in the develop stage of the double diamond process. And the purpose of ideation is to generate ideas by ourselves in a group or in a group, individually, or co-generate ideas within a team. And it's heavily something that we work in phase two, as well as our own project. Prototyping and usability testing is located in the delivery stage of the double diamond process and involves iterative process of testing prototypes. Okay, because we can establish all this work, but we need to deliver. Before that, we must test our prototypes. And there's mechanisms that students will learn in our training to support their testing. So let's jump into the double diamond at quite a high level. So again, it's a framework, it's a structure, it's a UX process, and it includes 4 phases. So step 1 is the discovery phase. The first quarter is devoted to and based on observation, creativity, and reporting on the state of play. It indicates the launch of a project and is characterized by a search of a large number of ideas. And that leads into step 2, the define stage. And the aim is to summarize all the information collected during the discovery phase and to clearly formulate the design challenge. The objective is to develop a firm understanding of the challenges, to analyze assumptions that are drawn on insights, research, feedback, or what you know about the topic. Step 3 is to develop. Okay, the third quarter, it covers the deployment of solutions that have been considered in the define stage. Okay, so this leads on from the define stage, and this third quarter generates ideas which are tested and iterated to determine the viability used in models, sketches, in other iterative loops. These tests determine whether ideas are discarded or fine-tuned and utilized. And step 4, it's the final stage, and this is the delivery stage. So the product or service is modeled, finalized, and launched. And what happens when we involve and make improvements and can be made when designers conduct analysis. So overall, this double diamond process in reality is rarely linear. It involves iterating, revisiting, discovery phase, and more learnings of underlying problems. And as a result, the framework requires ultimately prototyping in design and delivery. So the double diamond process are focused on principles, and this methodology is heavily relating to actually what Academy XI design faculties, our own stance on the course and our students. Number 1 is we put people first, and we understand the needs, strengths, and aspirations of people using a product or a service, all very much like students and how they progress through their studies. We communicate visually and inclusively. We help people to get a shared understanding of the problem and ideas. We focus on collaboration and co-create, which basically means we work together and get inspired by others. And we leverage each other's pace, understanding, and we work in a social environment. Iterate, iterate, iterate. We spot errors early, we avoid risk, and we build confidence. We do that together in a united front. And together that helps us form a connection as we move forward through our studies as a united team. The next key topics of the course focus on synthesis and analysis, which is part of the define stage of the double diamond. It's a heavily practical stage used by UXers. So while analytical writing is about breaking down something apart and looking at it in pieces individually, synthesis is about putting together the information to see the overall pattern of how things come together. It's a lot like analysis, where analysis is your commenting or interpreting of one piece of evidence or an idea that's been gathered. A paraphrase, it could be a quote. See, synthesis is where you take multiple pieces of evidence or multiple sources of ideas, and you talk about the connections between those ideas and those sources. So if you've been to any design office, it's most likely that you'll see in the wall compiling a heap of sticky notes. Okay, so this is a procedural task called affinity mapping by card sorting. So each sticky note is represented as a card, and we sort these. So affinity mapping can be achieved through 2 techniques, and it really does depend on the nature of the project. It's brief in the scope, but putting a bunch of sticky notes with ideas on the wall and then grouping them is based on the similarities, the affinities. And these groupings can help you extract insights and themes to help you build effectively end results or further conceptual ideas entering the next step. And so the purpose of affinity diagrams help to unify large amounts of data by finding relationships between concepts and ideas. And they allow you to organize facts, opinions, and other issues to help diagnose complex problems and identify common issues. Now, ideation, it's a highly enjoyable stage, the develop process within the double diamond framework. So the stage where we ideate is where we generate ideas through divergent thinking, thinking widely and deeply, And this process is known as ideation. So divergent thinking is very much a thought process used to generate creative ideas by exploring many possible solutions. And ideation can be both an individual or a collective exercise within a team or a community. The purpose of ideation is very much, though, to generate ideas ourselves, which we take back to the group, and we can co-create ideas together within the group, expand on our own gatherings and our own insights and feedback that we've received. So it may also involve stakeholders in the process. UX ideation places a great emphasis on group approaches, which is a very exciting stage of the Double Diamond. So going back to the core of the Double Diamond principles, as a UX practitioner, we want to work together and inspire others. Ideation includes, as you can see on screen, some captures from left to right on brainstorming, storyboarding, and what we call crazy eights, which is very low fidelity generation. And prototyping usability testing is at the delivery stage of the Double Diamond. And it involves iterative processes and testing your prototypes. Excuse me. So the purpose of testing prototypes involves showcasing high fidelity prototyping to a client to gain their endorsement. But we start at the lower end, from left of the screen to the right, low fidelity, looking at the user interface, functionality of what is a prototype, leading towards an end result of high fidelity wireframe, what you see on your apps that we use daily. So we apply our UI to our wireframes. We transition from a low fidelity wireframe that more closely resembles the final product or service, typically implemented by developers at the back end to make it all function correctly. So hence wireframing is something that is static until it reaches the hand of the developers who code the prototypes to make it function. So we look on a prototype as a high fidelity wireframe, shown on the right-hand side of this screen. And so it's very much the journey of delivering the prototype to the client, all of which you will, again, in phase 2, deliver to real clients. So that being said, usability testing can actually take place at different stages of the UX process, and at a different level of fidelity is required if the project is to showcase the design process more than the end result, all of which you'll learn within the course. So there's some of the key features of our design course, all based at the back end and the front of design and the Double Diamond process. So now we'll move on to how it all looks and works within the course itself, and how the studies affect you and the tools that we'll utilize. So let's begin with the learner management system. We are using a learner management system which houses all notes, videos, observation tools, techniques, instructions, and that's called NovoEd. And you can study and progress at any time, but we do recommend that you dedicate time around your personal circumstances, work, family, hobbies, etc. But NovoEd is there. You'll receive access. It's active for 12 months. The live sessions, they're all held in Zoom Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings. So soon we'll talk more about the live session roster and on the following slides. And if you'd like to receive academic support, help, or feedback, and this could be academic or non-academic, session times can be made each week with your instructor just by messaging, and we use Slack for our messaging. In terms of booking one-on-ones with your instructor or with Antonia for student support, we offer Calendly, which serves to discuss any topic, any agenda, any item that you'd like to discuss, whether it be, yes, academic, non-academic, initially supporting gaining access to NovoEd. It could be an example of this, or discussing a topic. All the live groups sessions are run in Zoom on the Tuesday through Thursday nights. They're all recorded and they're stored, so you can access them later. So students use the recordings to recap on a topic or revisit discussion points, understand topics to a higher level, which are all used in a group workshop and activity designed to help you grow while using the tools of the trade. Now, this course is truly flexible, and this sets us apart. Now, it enables you to define your own study pace. So this slide shares how you can individually progress with the course by setting your own pace. So I'd like you to ask yourselves, do I have 20 to 30 hours a week? And if the answer is yes, you're in pace 1, which is basically the equivalent to full-time study. and enables you to complete 2 or more modules per week. And if you ask yourself, do I have 10 to 15 hours of availability per week to focus on my studies? And if the answer is yes, PACE 2 is for you. And this allows you to progress at 1 module per week. However, if you're a little bit more time poor, and that might be, well, I've got 3 to 5 hours available. This is the equivalent of studying part-time, but a little bit lesser. So you may complete 1 module per week, if not 1 module over a fortnight. Okay, so that 3 to 5 hours is still valuable to allow you to progress and will still achieve graduation status within that 12 months, having completed as well phase 1 and phase 2. So you can see yourself answering these questions. These are questions based on your personal circumstances, but only you can define the pace in which to study. Okay, so you have 12 months again. You have 12 months to complete this course, which is ample time to complete the 12 modules in NovaEd, complete 2 client projects, which is 1 client project per month, and graduate. And then opt in beyond the 12 months if you need to use that time to opt into the phase 3 Career Support and Talent Services program. But again, I continually repeat myself, and I love to repeat myself. Students have completed this course in less than 4 months. And that's an average time slot that we've seen, but that's based on students who have studied full-time. Students who have studied part-time complete the course in 5 to 6 months. Amazing. Students that study phase 3, that might be 6 months to 8 months. But again, you've got 12 months to complete phases 1 and 2. Okay, so only you can answer that question and you decide. But we offer surveys at the start of the course to learn about your study pace. So we can work with you. We can upgrade the amount of one-on-ones that you have, and we will monitor your progress to make sure you hit your own designed milestone. All right. We moved on to some foreign information about the live sessions. So these live sessions are designed to get you on the tools of the trade. Okay, so applying new skills while interacting with your mentor and classmates. As you're making contributions using industry-leading tools such as Figma, Miro, Trello, all of which you were trained in. Okay, so these industry standard tools are what we utilize in our live sessions. Okay, all while you're interacting with your classmates and your instructor, for that matter. Starting in the first week of each month on Tuesday evenings, we commence the first live sessions. Now, you'll see on screen here that we run week 1, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we have a week to pause. That's where you focus and you use that time to progress in your studies. Now, that's during the evenings from 7 till 8:30 or 9 p.m., depending on questions and answers. But that's Tuesday through Thursday. Again, week 2, study-free week, and then we recommence week 3, and we go through the higher or the latter stage modules within the course in phase 1. Now, this roster continues every month. So if you want to attend all the live sessions in future months, students are more than welcome. And there's no limitation on how many live sessions that you can attend. See, many students attend the first month sessions at the first month that they begin their studies, but they re-enter the following month and they recap on the following month's activities within a group of new students. So your socializing through this course will continue to grow. Your community will continue to grow as well, which is vital to your success while working with others throughout your course. So in the case that you happen to miss a session, there's a family matter, there's a health matter, there's an emergency at home or at work, whatever it may be, I will remind you that we do include every session is recorded. Okay, so for your per usual, if you happen to miss a class, it's okay. We do like to see so many students interact in the classroom because obviously the people that we work with in phase 1 of the course are the people that we'll work with in phase 2 as a team in the client projects. So it's important that we create a community. Well, I'm going to stop here, but I'd firstly like to introduce a very special human, okay? So we've reached the stage of our open day to invite a very special guest to share his own personal journey. And you'll learn where he has come from, his time through the course, and obviously where he is now. So I invite Jimmy. It's an absolute pleasure. Jimmy is such a remarkable person. He can never wipe the smile off his face. His laugh is absolutely contagious. He is our alumni. So he studied the UX UI Design Transform course, and he recently graduated at the end of last year. So Jimmy, thank you so much for being here today. I'll take a break and I'll hand over to you.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Chris, and thanks for joining us today, everybody. Yeah, I'm Jim. I graduated from the Academy XI UX UI Transform course back in October. And yeah, working in the industry now. And yeah, just a little bit about myself. Prior to the course, I worked in a bakery. I worked at Coles. I worked at Samsung. In sales, I worked as an audio engineer. I worked as a music producer. I worked as an English and math tutor, like any job, you name it. But then I got to a stage of my life where like, you just hear the word tech being thrown around a lot, like, oh, you know, I work as a software dev. I work as a UX UI designer. And then I thought the letters UX UI looked interesting. So I did a bit of Googling, did a bit of research, and I thought, you know, like I'm kind of I like creative stuff like art and music, and this seemed to bridge the gap between like, you know, a pretty fun and stable job, but still exercising that element of creativity. So yeah, it just got me thinking, this is the sort of field I want to pursue and just work in. So I did a bit of self-studying, but like you can only learn so much. And I wanted to get some work experience on my resume regarding like around UX UI. And I guess one of the great things about the course is you do get placed in like, you get to work with real businesses, solving real problems. So in my cohort, we luckily got to work with a few pretty big companies, an ASX listed tech company that deals with like communications infrastructure, Symbio. And we also got to work with a health tech company called Fora. And so they were great clients and really nice pieces to put on the CV, the resume. And yeah, it was not an easy course by any means. It was very challenging, but yeah, super fun every day. And you're surrounded by a lot of like-minded people, and there's a lot of support from our mentors, from Chris and the team, from Academy XI. So you're in very good hands. But yeah, it's super challenging, but yeah, super rewarding at the end of the day. And yeah. But yeah, any questions, feel free to flick them through the chat, or yeah, unmute yourselves, or yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. It's a pleasure to have you here today, mate. Thank you for expanding on your experience. And I have a question though. Why Academy XI? Why did you decide? I mean, there's education providers on the marketplace of offering UX, but why do you land on Academy XI?
Academy XI. So I was definitely shopping around, and there was a few other names as well, like was it GA and Design Lab. But I felt, I don't know, just it was the way the I guess the sales rep was interacting with me. Like she was very, I can't remember her name, but she was just very passionate about it. And yeah, it just got me thinking. It was just, I don't know, I was just magnetized towards like her passion. And whereas the guy from GA and Design Lab, they kind of sound like not too interested and not too, just kind of doing their job. Yeah, it was just a passion from Academy XI. Also, Academy XI is run by a bloke who I believe came from General Assembly and then started his own thing. So I thought that was pretty cool. And also it's an Australian company too, whereas GA, Design Lab, etc. I think they're based elsewhere. So yeah, it's good to have a local, local provider of these courses. I thought that was pretty cool.
Thank you for sharing. And if you could reflect on your studies itself, what were some of the most more enjoyable topics that you found throughout the course, or rewarding topics? Expand on that for me.
Oh, rewarding topics. Oh, that's a tricky one. Because everything, like all the topics are so brand new, like all the phases of the double diamond, from prototyping to ideation. But I think the most enjoyable for me was when, like, after you've done all your interviews and surveys with the users, when you're affinity mapping all of the insights down into themes and pain points, and then realizing what designs you have to make and what pain points you have to tackle. I thought that was the most magical part of the whole process, just defining the problem and knowing what you have to design to, like, you know, make the client happy and fix your users' pain points. So
Great.
I think that's the second phase of the diamond.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah, that's the client phase. And you just mentioned that you work with Symbio, which is fantastic. And did you find the client interaction rewarding, insightful? Were there additional learnings other than just generating the project outcomes itself? Were there additional learnings or findings that you felt were really valuable during that experience?
100%. So we were looked after by Sylvia, who she did the Academy XI program as well, obviously, and she's passionate about the field, and she really looked after us, and showed us the importance of mentorship. So it's really important to just keep in touch with your mentors, ask a lot of questions, even if they sound stupid. She always encouraged us to ask as many questions as we could, and took her time to answer each one. So that was really helpful, because especially as we're all pivoting from a different field of work, it's a completely whole new world. So it's so important to ask questions and just not be afraid to ask anything, because just don't leave any stone unturned type of thing.
Absolutely. Every question is highly valuable and significant. Now, you made a good point there. Sylvia was a past student of Academy XI's. Then after years of experience, suggested to her business, why don't we leverage students to help us fill this gap and all their insights? And so Symbio was your client, which was a very exciting project, I might add. And at that stage, and I see there's a question in the Q&A, and what's the cohort sizes? Can you recall your cohort size, Jimmy?
Yeah, it was about 21, 22
That's
people.
right. Yeah, that's right.
Pretty big.
Right. That's the average size for us. So anywhere between 10 to 20, anywhere in that range is the monthly starters that we have, which is very exciting. At the start of every month, we're absolutely on a high, welcoming new students. And so tell me, Jimmy, in phase 3, the career support program, how many days can you recall? This is a difficult question to answer, maybe. How many days between graduating and landing your first role? Can you recall?
I was applying for jobs midway through finishing the course. So when I did the course, it was a little different to what the course is now. It was actually a 3-month or 4-month course.
Yes.
And I started applying about midway through it. And then I landed my job now at Tab Corp about 3 weeks after graduating. Yeah. But I was applying way earlier than
That's
is
right.
advised. But just to get into the flow and practice with submitting applications on Seek and LinkedIn and all that. And
that's why I refer to you as a remarkable human, if not remarkable student. You were proactive. You said, I've got my mindset on my pathway, my career pathway. I want to start ASAP. And you've got an amazing story from working a bakery, in retail, starting the course, and now look at you, UX at Tab Corp. Amazing. Jimmy, thank you again so much for being here. It's an absolute pleasure to see you again and have you share your story. So thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, my pleasure, Chris. Thank you so much, Chris and team. Any questions, just flicking through, and thanks everybody.
Thank you. All right, team. I invite Louise. Now, Louise is a career advisor here at Academy XI. Louise is here to discuss, I'll stop. It's all on screen, but Louise, I'll hand over to you to share a bit about what you do at Academy XI. Over to you.
Thanks, Chris. So yes, my name's Louise. I'm one of the course advisors here. So I've been with Academy XI for about a year, but I've had over 15 years experience in education, specifically working around design and creative technologies. So my role here is really helping get the right students in the right course, really, and helping you with that, beginning your journey with Academy XI. So I guess kind of to recap everything that everyone sort of said, what Academy XI is really good at is really identifying the skill gaps within the Australian job market and then creating bootcamp style courses around those skill gaps. So it's really important that we get the most current and relevant information out there to you and get you to actually work on those projects, and then help you with the career support program as well. So just to let you know, our next course is the 3rd of July, so coming up fairly quickly. And we do have a fantastic opportunity with our end of financial year promotion, where you can get 30% off your course fees. So it's really a good time to get started. So you can do that either via the website and apply directly, or contact one of the course advisors. So we're really happy to help and really passionate, like I said, about getting the right students in the right course. So yeah, we're here to help.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Louise. Great to have you here today at our open day. And that concludes, after your information, that concludes all topics I'd like to cover today. So we're open with questions. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the Q&A, and I will invite anyone that has questions. If you don't wish to provide questions here in the Q&A, that's absolutely fine. All questions are welcome though. There's an email address on screen. It's experience@academyxi.com. That email will go directly to myself and Antonia. If you have any questions for other members throughout the organization, that can also come through us. So I'll make it quite simple. If you'd like to get in touch with Louise as well, her details are on screen. But yeah, please contact us if you have any questions beyond. So I'm going to jump into the Q&A as well. And Antonia, you might want to jump on, and I see that many of the questions have been answered already, which is great. Thank you so much. And Arlen, thank you for jumping in and answering questions as well. Where are we up to?
So we've got some pretty interesting questions coming through. So Peter's asking, what UX or UI roles is there currently a shortage of?
Yeah,
I'll pass
great.
that one to either yourself or Arlen.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Antonia. And I can answer that one if you like, Arlen. And Peter, thank you very much for this great question. So how long does phase 1 usually take? Now, students who are in PACE 1, and that's like full-time working commitment, PACE 1 has taken students 2 months to complete. And in their 3rd month, they jump into phase 2. So 2 months to complete 12 modules. That's like, what, 6 modules per month, which if you're working at 20 to 30 hours is absolutely achievable. And we've seen it time and time again where students have completed phase 1 in only 2 months, which again, I keep saying it, but it's mind blowing. Okay. So our role here, and certainly Arlen's role in one-on-ones, keeping students up on track, hitting milestones, all can be achieved within that 2-month time frame to give students every opportunity to enter the client in that 3rd month of their study. And if they're studying at PACE 2, that might look like 3 to 4 months in phase 1. 3 months is the average that we've seen at 15 to 20 hours per week. 10 to 15 hours per week of study time. 3 to 4 months, anywhere in that range, we've seen students at PACE 2 finish phase 1. And then again, the next month they enter phase 2 and work with a real client. So that's a great question. Is there a shortage currently in the industry? We've seen a shortage, but we're seeing it pick up again. So if you were to look to the likes of Seek, Indeed, LinkedIn job ads, you will see that the market is growing. But our career coach, like he's an expert, he's widely connected. You'll find that he has opportunities that are sent directly to him that are not advertised publicly. And that gives our students, because we've got a great connection in industry. And with that connection, we are able to provide job ads to our students to place the student in the right fit, the right student, the right fit for the organization. And that is expressed throughout phase 3. That absolutely happens. The best thing all of our students could do to set each other apart is have that unique portfolio. So Peter, this is a great question because it stems on what does it take to achieve job roles? You know, yes, if there's a shortage, if there's not a shortage. The portfolio piece, phase 1, your own individual project, that's our own unique passion project. Employees wish to see passion shown through your work, and you'll establish that in phase 1. There is passion and opportunity to work on a unique project in phase 2 and sprint 1 and sprint 2. You have 3 really, extremely encouraging, enhanced portfolio pieces that can be displayed to employers. That's what we really focus on, and they'll give us every opportunity for success in phase 3. Great question, Peter. Thank you. Okay.
We also have some other really good questions coming through. So this is an interesting one from Samira. How does this course compare to Monash's bootcamp or RMIT's UX UI bootcamp?
Yeah, great. All I can share is my awareness of our competitors' course offerings. So our competitiveness is really related to the flexibility around the pace that students wish to study. Okay, and this is a comparable difference from Monash, RMIT, GA, and other competitors in the market space. Okay, and the education providers. So our pace that we talked about, the 3 paces, whether you decide I'm a full-time student, I'm a part-time student, or I'd like to work at part-time but at a lower pace. Now that's your decision to make. Now all students can move through at pace together, but along the way, the unique edge is to work with students at a different pace. It's all intertwined, it's all interconnected. While you progress, you form strong relationships that can last a lifetime if you let it. The benefit to our courses include, we've just upgraded with this additional resources for integrated AI and focusing onto a higher level than ever, Figma to an advanced level in UI design. It's all to benefit you, generating the strongest portfolio, generating the strongest understanding of the UI tools, functions, mechanisms available in UX today. And that's going to make you stand out above who may be also applying for the same job role. Okay, so please keep that in mind. I hope I've answered your question. Back to you, Antonio. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm on mute. So we've got a question. I think this is for Arlen. Can you get help to get set up as a freelancer rather than an FTE?
I think that's actually not for me, but as a freelancer, I can give you tips and tricks, but also, depending on your experience, I probably wouldn't recommend going straight into a freelancing role without gaining some kind of experience. That's just the nature of learning everything. Like, it takes a little bit of time to get proficient at it and comfortable to be the sole responsibility of a project.
Great answer, Alan. I think you'll be absolutely equipped to be a freelancer, but it's in everyone's best interest to work in a design or a creative design agency, because you'll gain that, as Alan drew on, the experience, understanding via a leadership team, how to operate within the space. As you're a junior starting that career, I think it's very important to be under supervision to help you navigate through UX in the initial phase. But that's a great question. Thank you for asking. And thanks, Alan, for answering.
So we've got Afiza asking what tools are going to be used for prototyping, wireframing, and high-level designs. So this is for both mobile and website designs, and if you could just run us through the list of tools.
Yeah, great. Alan, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, so we're actually quite flexible. I mean, mostly we use Figma because that seems to be currently the industry standard. But in terms of prototyping, a lot of students are using Maze, but it's kind of up to them, and it kind of depends on what their needs are for testing. So you'll find that you can use a lot of usability testing platforms and sites, and they all kind of offer different features and functions. So we kind of leave it up to, like, what do you want to achieve? And we pick tools based off achieving that outcome.
Great. Thank you, Alan. Great questions.
Another one for you, Arlen. So do you cover web apps that are based both on mobile and desktop platforms?
Most of them. In UX, principle is to design mobile first. So even if you don't think that someone's potentially going to use it on a mobile, what that does is it ensures that we can prioritize what elements are on the page from a content point of view and how to prioritize them, put them in. That's just standard design principle. So always go mobile first, because it's easier to put more size when you expand than it is to shrink. And what was the B part of that question?
Which are based both on mobile and desktop platforms.
Yeah, we do both.
Yeah. Perfect. So the next question, and this is an interesting one. So what are the average salary ranges of graduates once they commence?
Great question. Now, in answering this question, I'd like to share that a lot of employers look for prior experience of what is your prior experience to studying at Academic XI? So what have you done in the past? And obviously then looking at the portfolio, what are your assets that you can bring to my organization now? The salary range is based on junior roles. Now, we have seen, and we have evidence suggests that we have seen roles from $80,000 per year salary all the way up to 150. And we have had just recently one of our graduates land a role at 150K, which I repeat myself again, but it's mind-blowing to hear these stories. Now, this particular person at a high salary range had a lot of team experience. A lot of our students come back from a career in graphic design, interior, architecture, other design, like they could be a UI specific designer. So that all stands for something, okay? And you bring those experiences to the course and you build on your prior experiences. So that all plays a significant role in your ability to fit within that salary range. I hope I've answered your question. Thank you for asking.
Thanks, Chris. So the next question we've got is, on average, how much time is spent during Sprint 1 and Sprint 2 per week on the live projects?
Yeah, on the live projects, great question. Now, that's based on your pace, okay? So if you dedicated 20, 30 hours as a full-time pace, that's what you'll stick to in Sprint 1. If you're a lower pace, okay, being pace 2 or pace 3, part-time, 10 to 15 hours, all the time that you can give to the course is then delivering your contribution to the project, okay? And that is understood because students justify and share the pace at which they set during phase 1 that we carry on through phase 2. But regardless, the project must be completed in 3 weeks. We've got a pretty intense sprint. Okay, so yeah, week 1, again, just to recap, team building exercises, you gather the brief, you receive the brief, sorry, you gather questions, and then you formulate questions to prepare for the kickoff of in week 2, the meet and greet with the client, but it's strictly a 3-week project sprint. Great question. Thank you. And I hope I've answered it correctly.
Thank you, Chris. Now we've got another one for Arlen. So can you provide any advice on hardware that's required to support the tools we'd be using throughout the course? So should I be forking out for a MacBook Pro before I start?
If I was really starting all by my lonesome and I was starting from scratch, I reckon I could probably do a lot of this off an iPad. But I believe Figma is OS agnostic. It's got like a web version. So as long as you can download that, I'm pretty sure that can go onto most computers and it runs pretty light. So you don't need a super powerful computer to do it at all.
If you're a nerd like me, you'll jump to the manufacturer's suggested spec requirements. So whether you're running Windows or iOS, OS X, you may have a 4 gig of RAM, 8 gig of RAM, and onboard or an integrated or standalone, graphic card. Now, this is something that we'll always suggest go to, and we'll provide links and recommendations to receive your system requirements by the manufacturer. And that's what we also advise, in addition to maybe, utilizing the iPad. Because Nova and all these platforms that are free, they absolutely do operate on either, your PC or your tablet, which is pretty flexible.
Thanks, Chris and Arlen. And we've got Selena asking a really good question as well. So is there any training on soft skills as part of the UX training? So for example, teamwork and presenting.
Yeah. Arlen, did you want to kickstart?
I think I just answered that in the Q&A.
Oh, you did. Okay, great.
But yes, so we'll have to keep meetings. These soft skills, there's something that I think gets spoken about incidentally through all the topics, because there's always a practical application. So it's like if you do any tool or technique, then you also have to go and get buy-in from any team that you work as part of. So we do discuss tactics on how to be the most effective when trying to communicate your designs and solutions to wider audiences. Also, there is a presentation aspect and a design critique aspect. And these are all things to help enable to make sure that our designs are reducing the most risk and the most accurate, and considering a wide viewpoint as possible throughout it. So yeah, plenty of soft skills get spoken about. Most of this is actually a few tools and techniques and a lot of soft skills to get it through to approval.
Perfect. Thank you, Arlen. Now, I think we've actually come to the end of the Q&A, but in case anyone else has any questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A in the chat and we'll answer those.
And alternatively, you see the email address on screen, experience@academicsi.com. And just to recap, myself and Antonia screen that email address. So if anyone has any questions that you'd like to ask later or anything that comes to mind, please write that email address down and we'll be happy to answer you in the shortest possible time frame. And we welcome all questions. So we've got We've got only minutes to spare. So before we wrap up, I just want to thank you again for attending Academy XI's Open Day, learning about our flagship course in UX UI Design Transform. We hope you've learned a lot today, and we hope this helps you make a decision on whether to enroll with us or not. And we thank you so much for your time today and being here. So we wish you a great day. Thank you again for everyone that asked questions. They were all fantastic questions. And yeah, we wish you a very great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.